It is vindication season. Stefon Diggs, Danielle Hunter, Jonathan Grard, Blake Cashman, revenge game season, baby. And it is crossover Thursday. Here to break it.
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, football fans? Welcome into another crossover Thursday here. Locked On Vikings and Locked On Texans today. So hello, Texans fans. And of course, welcome in to Vikings fans here to talk about the upcoming Vikings-Texans matchup. This episode of Crossover Thursday is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Here with Cody Davis of Locked On Texans. I'm Luke Braun. I do Locked On Vikings. And we're going to start out here by, I got to know about what's going on with the Houston Texans. Sort of a trendy Super Bowl pick. That's been a minute. I mean, we are not that far away from deep darkness in Houston. We're 2 years removed from that. And we're talking contender, and it's justified, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely justified, man. You know, there's been so many moments going back to, I want to say, week 11, week 12 of last year, where I just look back and just think to myself, man, the Houston Texans are really here. And it's just that, for me, I just getting all about how fast this rebuild just went from the dark ages all the way up to, we do the Locked On power ranking every single week. And I never thought that I would see the day where the Houston Texans would be ranked number 2 in our power ranking. I remember a time we started the season at 32 and we only rose to 31. That's how bad it was.
and you liked it.
And
you were happy with that.
I liked it. I remember one time.
In old country, we ate potato. We liked it. We were grateful.
Man, we was grateful, man. But, as of right now, man, the 2024 campaign has kicked off. The Houston Texans, they're 2-0. Some people say they got lucky getting that victory against the Chicago Bears. I'm pretty sure you saw it the Sunday night game. The defense looked really
call that
good.
Lucky.
The defense looked good. However,
closer than it looked, I think.
Yeah, it was
closer than it looked.
But it was only because the offense looked kind of shaky. And that's the biggest storyline for the Houston Texans going into week 3. First and foremost, how can the Houston Texans offense kind of, fix some of the issues that we saw during week 2? And not only that, who's going to be your starting running back? Because regardless of how good CJ Stroud has looked, regardless of all the weapons, and I'm talking about a plethora of weapons that he has to choose from, and the wide receiving unit, your offensive line, even though they had shaky production against Chicago, it's still pretty good, sort of say. And even at your tight end unit, this is an offensive coordinator and Bobby Sawyer who still relies heavily upon the run. And as of right now, after Wednesday's practice, both Dameon Pierce and Joe Mixon, both of them was sidelined. And as of right now, they are questionable for Sunday's game against the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm looking at it from a standpoint, if the Houston Texans cannot establish a run against the Minnesota Vikings, it could be another situation where we're looking at the Houston Texans offense saying, you know what? Yes, you have CJ. Yes, you have Stefon. Yes, you have Tank. Yes, you have Nico. But it's still going to look a little bit discombobulated only because a lot is still heavily dependent on the run.
And two of the players on the Vikings defense that are going to have the most to do with that, and we'll talk more about the Vikings in a second, are former Texans, Jonathan Grard and Blake Cashman. And on the other side of the ball, Stefon Diggs. And on your defense, there's Danielle Hunter. So here is, I guess, the question that I have here. Do you have a sense for how those two, this is what Vikings fans want to know about how these two guys are doing. First of all, is how are our boys doing? Okay. We love Stefon Diggs, Minneapolis Miracle guy. Fond memories forever. Okay. He'll never buy a drink in Minnesota again. And of course, we all love Danielle Hunter as well. It was mostly just money. That divorce was as amicable as that kind of thing gets. So how are our babies doing? And do you think that they're coming into US Bank Stadium with a chip on their shoulder against, going to play in the stadium that both those guys played forever for the first time as the road team?
Well, of course, you always want to, put on the show against your former team. As of right now, Danielle Hunter, man, from the very first moment that we met him, from the very first moment when we had an opportunity to speak to him during his quote unquote introductory press conference. He's just your typical chill guy who just comes to work, do his job, and go home. Plain and simple, man. And that's him off the field, on the field, man. 2 games into the season, you can definitely tell that he has made a difference in the Houston Texans defensive line. I remember he made a statement by saying, in Minnesota, he had a couple more responsibilities to carry, a couple more burdens to carry in terms of how they wanted him to play. He said his favorite part about, being here in the city of Houston is the fact that they're not asking him to do a lot. The only thing they want him to do,
he was Superman here.
Quarterback.
The whole thing funneled into him. He had to really be like the pillar.
Oh, yeah. He talked about all that. He said now his number one priority is either get the quarterback or stop the run. In 2 games in, he has done that. On the flip side, everybody's favorite quote-unquote diva per se, man, we love Stefon Diggs here in the city of Houston, man.
Okay.
I understand it's still the honeymoon phase, but, for me personally, man, having an opportunity to talk to Stefon Diggs when I was in Houston, having an opportunity, to get to know him, man, the one thing that I noticed about him and that I'm still hearing down at home is the fact that he is a guy who is still going to be a quote unquote. He's becoming a coach on the field for a lot of the Houston Texans young guys. And there are so many times, you could talk to Nate, you could talk to Tank on and off record, Nico on and off record, John Mechie on and off record. And as of right now, John is, going through his little personal, I don't want to call them problems right now, but, 2 consecutive games of being a healthy scratch, he's going through something right now. We still trying to figure that out. But regardless of what it is, even on the defensive side of the ball, so many guys have talked about how they have had an opportunity to just call Stefon Diggs up, pick his brain about stuff on and off the field. And he has been helpful for that. And everybody inside the door of 610 and Kirby has been happy as heck to have Stefon Diggs on this roster. That's all I got to say, man.
So So when he was here, and for a long time in Buffalo too, Stefon Diggs, you could run the offense through him, and you'd start to get people doubling him. Like he could be the 1A number 1 option. Not a lot of guys in the league can be the only guy on the team, right? You got to have somebody else, whether it's an Adam Thielen or whether it's a Cole Beasley or a Nico Collins. But is Stefon Diggs that guy for you? Is he the 1A option? If it's 3rd and 5. Are we going, this thing's got to go to Diggs?
No. And it's no shot at where he is at this stage in his career. I know some people talk about 2 games in, maybe they've seen a decline or whatever the case might be. I haven't really seen a decline. I've said this a lot here on Locked On Texans. Yeah, you're a 10. Eventually it's going to get up there. I say here a lot. I said this a lot on Locked On Texans. Stefon Diggs, in my opinion, has been consistently a top 10 and then one time a top 5 wide receiver in this game for over a decade now. But, it's the fact that the Texans just have so many weapons. I just go back to Sunday night game against the Chicago Bears. Stefon Diggs really didn't do much, but in a way, he really didn't have to do much because you had Nico Collins giving you, what was it, like $150 or $130 or whatever the case might be, and the Texans, They could hit you in so many different ways. So he no longer has to carry that burden like he did in Minnesota, like he did in Buffalo, where he has to go out there and be this team's, number 1 option. There's going to be moments where I think the best way I could put this, and I think this is where he's going to have his best impact on the Houston Texans offense, is the fact a lot of times, because he's Stefon Diggs and because he can still out there and dominate the opposing team's defense, a lot of times they're going to just use him as a decoy because he's going to draw that much attention, which is just going to allow Tank Dell to get open. John Mechie, whenever he gets an opportunity to get open. Nico Collins, go back to that game against the Indianapolis Colts. Like, we've seen how much attention he draws, which is just going to open up the door for this offense a lot more.
It's interesting because on the Vikings, there's only like 4 or 5 people in the building anymore that even were here when Stefon Diggs was here. So it is just kind of another guy coming to town, but it's definitely not going to be that way for the fans. And we are going to go over what's going on in Minnesota for the Texans fans next on Locked On Vikings and Locked On Texans. Today's Locked On Vikings, Locked On Texans crossover is brought to you by arenaclub.com. This is for the collectors out there. If you like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 on like a Mahomes rookie card, maybe not necessarily something that you're comfortable doing. There's some serious money you have to drop if you want your collection to be anything serious, but arenaclub.com and their slab packs are here for you. Every card in there, including a Mahomes rookie card or like a Luka rookie card, are in Arena Club slab packs. It's the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. The whole thing about Arena Club is that they are very transparent about what you are getting. Their grading process is accurate, fast, and totally transparent. And after your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. So whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off of your first slab pack or card purchase by going to the arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL, LOCKEDON NFL, code LockedOnNFL for 10% off of your first purchase. And thank you so much to Locked On Texans, Locked On Vikings, everydayers for coming in and listen to me and or Cody all week long, every single day. Vikings fans, I always strongly recommend that you go listen to the other team's show all week. You're going to learn a lot of stuff. And when you're done here, go check out Locked On NFL with Tyler Rowland and Tony Wiggins in the morning and evening, respectively. A little bit of crazy in the morning and a little bit of chill in the evening. Cody, what do you want to know about the Vikings?
You know, I know the number one thing that people want to talk about is Sam Darnold. And I want to hold it. However, you guys have two players that not only played a big role in the Houston Texans' success last year. One of them was one of my guys in the locker room, Jonathan Grard. Shout out to him. I just want to know, man, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people from that follow the Houston Texans want to know what type of impact that they're having in Minnesota as of right now, especially JG, a guy who, you know, from my understanding, he wanted to stay in Houston. The Texans wasn't, you know, they really didn't want to
bigger plans, huh?
Money. Yeah, clearly they had bigger plans. And, you know, JG was able to get a bag in Minnesota, you know, and that's where he be. And everybody who rock with Locked On Texans will tell you I've been a huge fan of JG ever since the Houston Texans drafted him a few years ago.
Yeah, we love him. He's probably the priority pass rusher is what I would call him. He's the 1A guy. If you're going to set up a pass rush, you're probably trying to set him up with a one-on-one. He's the one that they're putting up against the weaker tackle. You didn't see a lot of Trent Williams against the 49ers. They put rotational guys against Trent Williams. They put Grard over on the other side, trying to get pressures and stuff there. But unlike what we did with Danielle Hunter, it's not a one-for-one replacement. He doesn't have to be Superman like what we did with Danielle Hunter either. We have Andrew Van Ginkel in the building, first-round pick Dallas Turner. Patrick Jones had this crazy game against San Francisco. He's like the fourth guy. So we got guys around those edges that can take some of the pressure off of him, but they've been working really hard to get him one-on-ones, and they've seen the production from that. He's a quiet personality. He hasn't really like stepped in and made himself known or anything like that, and I don't really think he wants to. But, you know, on the field, hard to miss him.
And, you know, you say quiet personality. That's a little bit shocking to me because JG was one of the loud guys.
Well, maybe he just hasn't had his moment yet. He's only been here for a little bit. So, maybe, you know, with time.
Maybe he's somebody like me. Maybe that's why, you know, me and him, you know, was able to, you know, get along so well because I'm a person, you know, kind of reserved at first. Once you get to know me, you get to warm up. But, you know, what about Blake Cashman? You know, he's a guy that exploded last year for the Houston Texans, who was arguably in at times was their best linebacker. Oh, my God. That dude had the game of his life last Sunday. He's coming on off of just some absolute insanity. He caused a couple of turnovers that didn't get credited to him, but like there's a tip drill interception that was his tip. A couple of absolutely unreal pass breakups. That was funny, you know, playing across from Fred Warner at the same position, going, that's a Fred Warner play that the other guy just made. But it was 51. We love him too. Eden Prairie native. So he's immediately, you know, very excited to be in Minnesota, hometown, all that stuff. But he's been at worst solidly doing his job, and at best
a real disrupting force. You could argue that he was the best player on the defense last week. Wow. And I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card with Grard in there, with Harrison Phillips in there. We love Ivan Pace, the other linebacker. Like, there's all these other guys that they spent a lot of money and stuff on, but Cashman went off. So he's coming off the game of his life. And I wonder if he's going to come up big time for this one. Like you said, you got to put on a show against your former team.
Of course, man. And I'm happy for Blake Cashman, man. That's a guy that has came a long way in his career. But talking about coming a long way, look, just keep it real with us down here in Houston, man. How in the world is Sam Darnold doing this?
I don't know. I don't. Okay, so here's the story as it goes, right? Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold had his time with the Jets. He was young. He was overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And as the way he puts it, he was playing hero ball. And you can see it. Look up Sam Darnold interception on Twitter, and you'll see a bunch of plays where he just forces something that he absolutely shouldn't have been forcing, whether it was, 3rd and 13 or, sometimes on 1st and 10, where it's like, dude, just throw that away. Like, you're going to live to fight another down. But it was always hero ball. He felt that pressure of being, New York media. I'm the franchise guy. They just spent the 3rd overall pick. They traded up for me. And I think that pressure to be the savior of a team that's been in the pits for a while made him feel like he had to force it, and really he couldn't trust anything but himself, and he had to go make everything happen himself and eat it all in one bite. So he has his little moment with the Panthers too. He has a little hot streak, but he's still kind of doing the same thing, right? Trying to be hero. And it wasn't until he got to San Francisco and watched Kyle Shanahan coach Brock Purdy. This is last year. Now he's the backup. The pressure is off. So I think once you kind of have a year where the pressure is off and you get to decompress and you get to reflect on all the lessons you've learned, I feel like it's a little easier for those to set in versus when you're in the middle of a season and you're like, yeah, I want to kind of think about a lesson I learned from that pick, but I also have to prepare for the Patriots tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But when he goes to San Francisco and sees Brock Purdy, and something that Shanahan really emphasizes with Purdy is not being the hero, is living to fight another day and being smart, be creative, get out of the pocket, scramble, try to find something, but being smart. And that lesson really sinks in for him. And so when he gets to Minnesota, everybody, including Josh McCown, his QB coach, who played with him as his backup in New York, is noticing he's really calmer. He's grown up a little bit. He's a little more mature. He's a little bit more reserved and playing a little bit more conservatively, safer with the ball. And we've seen that in the last 2 games too. Sam Darnold, talent was never going to be the problem. Talent with his legs, talent with his arms. He was a crazy, crazy athlete. One of those guys in high school that, could pick up a basketball and had never played basketball before and dunk on all of you just because he was that kind of athletic guy. But because he got in his head so bad and tried to play hero ball so bad, he flamed out. If he doesn't try to play hero ball, he doesn't play conservative, all that talent, he's only 26, I think, 27? Mm-hmm. All that talent comes back online. And then suddenly you can throw these great bombs. He's still playing opportunistic football, but he's being a lot safer. And that's what's worked out so far. The question is he going to crack if things get a little harder? Because the Vikings haven't trailed yet. Once. In either of their games, they have not trailed. So what happens when we're behind the 8 ball? What happens when you're, 2 scores down in the 3rd quarter? And really a methodical drive here will get you back in this game, but will he try to force the issue and throw a backbreaking interception? That's the question.
And how much do you think playing alongside Justin Jefferson has also helped his play as well? Because, Justin Jefferson, if he's not the best wide receiver in the league, he's number 2. No, Lord, if you got him ranked Lord into something wrong with you mentally.
For sure, yeah. Everybody argues it's him or Tyreek Hill, but everybody's sane at least. There's some people that will just throw Cooper Kupp in there or something, but no, that's huge. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is, and this is the way that the Texans, this is the question that the Texans have to answer, is what do you want to do about Justin Jefferson? Mm-hmm. Most teams will double him. They'll bracket him. They'll stay in 2 high coverages. They'll keep a safety over the top. And they'll essentially say, we got a guy over you, a guy under you. You either have to run, the 2 beaters you have for this specific coverage and basically get stagnant all day, or you have to find somebody else. You're probably not going to see Jordan Addison in this game. He's dealing with an ankle injury. I would call him, if I had to guess right now, I'd use the word doubtful. If it's not impossible, but doubtful. You don't have TJ Hawkinson. The next best pass catcher on the Vikings is Jalen Nailor, who's having a bit of a low-key breakout year, but he's a role player. He's a fast, take the top off the defense kind of guy. So it's either, if you want to double Justin Jefferson and take him away, then Darnold has to find ways to kind of distribute the ball around to a lot of backup players. But that's going to be the question that it kind of asks the Texans is, do you want to double this guy and kind of leave opportunities for everybody else? Or do you want to do it the way the San Francisco 49ers did it and say, we're going to play our defense and then a couple little mistakes and he goes off? My guess is that the Texans will double. Most teams do, unless you really feel like you have a guy that can man up with him. But you guys kind of have that guy, right?
I was gonna say, that's going to be, and maybe we can get more into this in the next segment. But the key to the game, we actually have a guy that could probably, go toe for toe for him, and that's a guy that he went to school with by the name of Derek Stingley Jr.
Derek Stingley, yeah. Well, let's definitely save it because I do want to know about him and how you think he matches up with Justin Jefferson, as well as some of the other things that we think will maybe decide the outcome of this game. Today's crossover episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The FanDuel line has been moving here a little bit on this Vikings-Texans game. Right now, the Vikings are 2-point home underdogs. So if you think that overrates the Vikings, overreacts to Sam Darnold, or maybe you just want to bet on a home dog, you can go check it out at FanDuel.com. And right now, you're running out of time for this, by the way. Through September 22nd, if you bet $5 on anything, whether it's Houston Texans divisional odds, which I got to think are not that lucrative anymore because they're the only team that's won a game, and they've won both in the AFC South, or Vikings playoff odds, which are a little more even, minus 122 for the Vikings last I checked. Whatever it is, lay $5 on it, and you can get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. With a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. Okay, Cody, so tell me, I'm going to tell you right now. In the 2022 draft, I was a big-time Stingley guy. The only reason, I thought that if I had my druthers and I could control what the draft should have been, I would have taken Sauce Gardner first overall and Derek Stingley second overall. And there was a weird chance that he was going to fall on the draft because of injuries, and I was getting so excited that there was this pipe dream of him being a Viking. Didn't even get close. He ends up going to the Texans. Please tell me that I'm vindicated here because he had kind of a slow start to his career.
No, Derek Stingley Jr. is slowly but surely turning into him. That's all I gotta say.
Makes me happy.
And
I've never been wrong.
I looked at it like this. This is this Stingley's third year already. Oh my God, where's the time going? His first year, well, of course, let's just go all the way back. Coming in from LSU, the number one concern about Derek Stingley Jr. was the injuries. I mean, everyone know what him, Justin Jefferson, Burrow, everybody, that phenomenal 2019 LSU team did that year. And after that, the next couple of years, Derek Stingley Jr. battled through injuries, hamstring. He has the Liz Frank injury, one of the worst injuries that any athlete can, battle through and stuff. So his rookie season, not only was he trying to get back into just football game speed, but he was also trying to get adjusted to the NFL game speed, and he was playing for a coach at the time, Lovie Smith, who was not calling a defense that suited to his skill set. So rookie season, it's okay. Then I think towards the end, at some point towards his rookie season, went down with a hamstring injury, missed half of that season. So it was okay, rookie season, you throw it out the window. So his sophomore year comes along and you pair him with DeMeco Ryans. Not only is DeMeco Ryans has put together a defensive scheme set that is more accustomed to his best attribute, as a shutdown one-on-one corner, but at the same time, Ryans is also one of the best teachers that he could have developed under. And he goes through his entire sophomore season. We are starting to get a glimpse of Derek Stingley Jr. at LSU. Got hurt once again with a hamstring injury in practice. It just popped up out of nowhere. We literally just seen him 30 minutes ago, stretching and everything. And the next thing you know, he's out for like 4 or 5 games or whatever. But when he comes back, he starts to show the potential that made him arguably, if not the best corner in the nation during his time at LSU. And through OTAs, throughout, mandatory minicamp, voluntary minicamp, training camp, preseason, and now through the first 2 games of the season, we are definitely starting to see Derek Stingley Jr. take that leap. And the number one thing that I've basically seen out of him is the fact that I think now he definitely has the confidence to say, you know what, not only am I, a good player in this league, and I hate to say it like this, sorry, Ross, but I'm a damn good cornerback in this league. And I know he believes in his heart that he could shut down any wide receiver. And I'm just waiting to hear what Stingley has to say about going up against his college teammate and Justin Jefferson. Because
so do you think they're going to one-on-one him here? Because nobody has one-on-one Justin Jefferson in like 2 years. Nobody's had the courage.
I just had this conversation with one of my colleagues a couple hours ago, and he asked me, do you think Derek Stingley Jr. would he feel disrespected if D'Amico and the rest of the coaching staff, will double Justin Jefferson?
Like, are they going to give him safety? If they leave him on an island, this is cinema. Because Jefferson has not had that opportunity in years.
I say Derek Stingley will take it as some form of disrespect, but if I'm D'Amico, especially looking at the trend and the trajectory, and I understand how dangerous Justin Jefferson can be, I truly do believe, man, especially considering with the injuries that, Minnesota is dealing with right now on the offensive side of the ball. If Stingley can hold his own against Justin Jefferson, you're looking at a situation where not only Stingley would have an opportunity to finally fully establish himself as
that'd be a breakout game. Yeah,
it's going to be a breakout game, but after that, it's going to have other players on the defensive side of the ball to not worry about Jefferson. Now you have an opportunity to focus on other players who could kind of, have those sneaky good games due to, the opportunities that they're going to have due to injury. So I don't know right now. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. I know D'Amico isn't going to tell us, but
of course
it's interesting, man. It's interesting.
Man, I don't know. Okay, the last time this happened, the last time somebody truly lined up on Justin Jefferson and said, we got a corner that can handle you. It was the Saints. It was Marshawn Lattimore. No slouch. It was 2022 in London. He went off for a $147, including a game-breaking go route that functionally was the dagger of the game. That would be ballsy. But of course I'm rooting to see it. I don't, other than that, we haven't seen anybody even try to one-on-one lock up Jefferson, let alone do it successfully since, and I don't think anybody's really had a good game on him one-on-one truly since his rookie year. Jair Alexander had a great game against him, but with a lot of safety help. So I have to think that that's what the Texans will do. So I want to actually circle back to something else you said, which was establishing the run for the Houston Texans with Joe Mixon, assuming he's healthy. One of the big surprises of the Vikings defense has been their D-line. Not only Grard and, Van Ginkel doing their thing on the edge, but in the middle, Harrison Phillips playing phenomenal, just signed a 2-year extension. And then guys names you kind of forgot about, like Jonathan Bullard and Jerry Tillery playing well, plus really aggressive linebacker play from Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace next to him. The 49ers ran the ball well on them last week, but the 49ers are the 49ers. So what can the Texans do to break through in a way that, a mortal team like the New York Giants couldn't?
That's going to be interesting to see. Once again, depending on the whole health situation. I'm not expecting Joe Mixon to play. I mean, the way his ankle...
So who is it then?
I was like, that's the thing. Damian Pierce still dealing with a hamstring injury. I'm not expecting him. So the next, running back that's going to be there's another guy you guys are, somewhat familiar with is Cam Akers.
Now, oh my God, it's Cam. That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
we were all bummed that it didn't work out. We wanted it, but the physical timing didn't work out because he failed the physical and then he ended up there. So everybody's just pretty bummed about that. We love Cam Akers.
Exactly. And I'm interested to see how is this going to work out with Cam Akers, because look, let me tell you something. I want to say the first full week of training camp took place. It might have been day 4 or whatever. I'm standing there and I look on, the little training practice for, side, that third field nobody wants to go to, and I look and I see somebody working out. It's like, who is that? I don't know. A couple days go by, it's Cam Akers. Next day at training camp, we asked D'Amico, hey, what's the deal with you guys signing Cam Akers? The only thing he said was, we just brought him in here to see if he was going to compete. That was it. It was like, oh, training camp body. Next thing you know,
phone number, Rolodex.
Exactly. The young man didn't even have his name on the back of his jersey, and I think his jersey number was like 22 or something. They had like a whole other 22 on the defensive side of the ball. That's how
get the practice jersey from 2 years ago that somebody left in the locker room.
Exactly. And he wasn't getting no type of reps, doing 11 on 11, 7 on 7, whatever the case might be. He was barely participating in individual drills. Then all of a sudden, the young man just started balling out. And next thing you know, it's like, okay, he'd be on the practice squad. Next thing you know, oh, snap. This man has literally made the 53-man roster. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Cam Akers, and can he give this team something in the rushing attack, knowing that Mixon and Dameon Pierce 9 times out of 10 will not be there. Because, Luke, I keep saying this, and maybe this is something, Bobby Sloyd and them going to have to work through, regardless of how good CJ Stroud is, regardless of all the weapons that he got with the wide receivers and the tight end and everything else. If the Texans cannot establish anything in the run, they're still going to struggle a little bit, and we saw it on Sunday. So, as you just alluded to, and I kind of knew this coming in, the Vikings, they still have a pretty good D-line, and I know, especially with Jonathan Grard, they're going to give the Houston Texans hell in some type of way, but there's a lot riding on Cam Akers' shoulders right now, and I'm just like, okay, can you showcase the same potential and production that we saw during preseason when you was playing against weaker competition? I've always liked Cam Akers. I love what he was doing, before, not 1 but 2 Achilles injuries, which is crazy to me that he's still playing. Let me just say that. But I'm like, can you do it now in the regular season when you're going up against better talent?
Minnesota Vikings in the middle of a gauntlet right now, coming off the 49ers right into the Texans, and then the Packers next week, as well as the Lions and Rams on the horizon. A lot of playoff teams on the schedule, so we'll see if the Vikings can keep up their unexpected win streak, and we'll see if the Texans can keep up their pretty expected win streak. Cody, thank you so much. I'm Luke Braun. I'm with Locked On Vikings. Cody's with Locked On Texans. People, Texans fans, please come in, come hang out. You are all welcome to come hang on Locked On Vikings before or after the game. It's a welcoming place, and I encourage Vikings fans to go do the same. Go chill with some Texans fans. Thank you all so much for listening here to this crossover Thursday episode, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.